All righty. Are you ready for a brief commentary on the main event of the evening, Brian? And by the way, this was a 2.5 hour program that still overran, as we mentioned. They were already well past 10 o'clock when they got this sorry state of affairs in the ring, the 10-man tag team match. Let me see if I can keep track of these teams. You had Will Ospreay, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, Swerve Strickland, and Shapoopy with Prince Nana in the corner taking on Frank Mortis Esquire, attorney at law, Dick the Boozer, Wheeler Useless, and the Cucamonga Kids with their corner person, Marina Schaefer. And the reason why that Frank was in the match was because Claudio apparently was on the same flight or car or burro or whatever as Cash was, and he wasn't there either. And that was the main event. Did you notice the one difference in Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman's presentation this time around, Brian? The very glaring difference?
Other than the Beast Mortos suddenly joining their group now that he's part of
Other than possibly someone coming in a helicopter to land on top of you?
Again, they were supposed to be here yesterday, but it rained, so they're here now.
Yeah. They didn't come through the arena. Their entrance, they came. Yeah.
What's there an arena they may actually get knifed in? They don't come through the arena.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when all of the people are like, oh, we love all this phony, silly wrestling, and Moxley can act like a badass, but when there's a very possible chance that they could just be disemboweled on the way to the ring, they come down the ramp like everybody else. So, I can't tell you, I didn't, again, watch a lot of this because it's just the same thing over and over, and you know what you're getting. But in principle, in generalities, it's the same thing with these two. And because they have position, they get to determine how everybody else in the match acts, whether they can work or not, whether they're in the ring with talent or not. The Cucamonga Kids are going to have this nonsense match. And everybody just runs in and does everything over and over. But one part illustrated that. At one point, this is another reason why everybody looks stupid and why people can't get over, and why I know on one side, Samoa Joe probably, if he hasn't just given up and said, fuck it, he probably wanted to kill somebody, because he's the one on that side that's smart enough to know that they were being buried. But the Hardley boys will get in the ring and do it 2-on-1, not a spot, but spots, 2-on-1 spots with Ospreay forever. Not only in front of the referee, who was the corpse referee, the Buckaroo's his little handpicked stooge that lets them do whatever they want. Doesn't know how to do it any other way. He's the shittiest referee in the world. But they do it not only in front of the referee, but in front of Ospreay's 4 able-bodied partners that are standing on the apron 10 feet away, watching their partner get beat up 2-on-1 by the heels without one of them making a goddamn move, do anything about it. You know why? Because that's the spot that's called. So they have to stand there with their dicks in their hand, looking like idiots to the entire arena, while these two simpletons beat up the babyface and then let him make his own comeback by leaping up and giving them both Cody cutters, whereupon the pie-faced one, Matty, he takes a bump from the Cody cutter, the double Cody cutter, and he jumps right up to his feet and then runs over to the ropes and jumps through the ropes and lands on his feet, completely fine, with no expression on his face, because he's running to get into the position he's supposed to be in next, because soon as he and his brother line up at ringside in the same spot and grab each other's arms to brace themselves for no apparent reason, Swerve rolls in the ring, runs away from them to the far side of the ring, bounces off the ropes, and it runs and does a Fosbury flop onto him because that was the next spot that was called, and they had to rush and get there in time. It's an endless circus performance of tumbling midgets and fucking dancing bears. And, most of the time they end up in the position they're supposed to be in, but never at any point do you get the idea this is any kind of wrestling match or contest. It's children in their backyard in Western Cucamonga playing on a trampoline. And this went forever. And they overran the 30-minute overrun. And then finally, they do whatever the fuck they do in the goddamn match. I don't even care anymore. I was sent the clip so that I could catch up on the missed finish. But then here comes Adam Page after the match. And he and Moxley just get in the ring and have the face off. And then they start trading fake forearms to build this big stadium match. And then they do the spot where Page is going to buckshot Dick the Boozer, but the Buckaroos are supposed to stand up in the back, and Pieface is going to get buckshotted, but he wasn't in the right place. So Moxley's standing around rubber-legged in the ring while Page is trying to figure out a way not to stand up and do the buckshot. He's looking like, did my boot slip off? And finally, when he sees Nimrod Jr. get in the right position, he comes over the top with the buckshot. Moxley ducks and he clotheslines his former friend, whose brother goes, "How could you do that?" Well, don't get in the fucking way. And then everybody just left. And the announcers, I will say this and then I will let you comment on anything in this last segment you care to. But the announcers are trying to sell Owen Page and Moxley and what's going to happen with his former friends and all this other thing. And Brian, because I was sent the clip on YouTube. And you know how as soon as a YouTube clip is over with, an advertising message will pop up pretty immediately?
Yeah.
I swear to God, to cap off this journey through hysteria that was this tag team fiasco, or this television fiasco with all these multiple tag team matches, the announcers finally say, "We'll see you back right here next week on Dynamite." And boom, the spot kicked in. The number one secret to regular BMs.
That's something.
And that was the best part of the show. What? You can't, by the time that they do anything that's supposed to promote a match that they've got coming up at a big show or a stadium or whatever, it's at the end of the show where you've seen everybody do everything. Everybody's done everything in this fucking segment. And it's just, this was just, like I said, the best way I can describe this is you go to the circus and they've got the tumbling clowns and there's like 12 of them and they're all doing their routine. The end.
Well, that was AEW Dynamite, and we'll do the full ratings.
I see you didn't have any fucking comments to make on that final segment.
What am I going to say? The Young Bucks, Young Bucks look worse than ever in terms of just appearance-wise. Like, not, you can always say, oh, they didn't look like wrestlers, but at least that one that was going bald looked like he was kind of in shape. He looks like complete shit now. The other one's just smaller and frumpier than ever.
Well, as they're getting pasty and pudgy as they enter their 40s, and they were never athletes to begin with, so they never fucking went to a gym. I'm allowed to say that because I was never an athlete either. But in all honesty, most of my work looked better than the Bucks's. I didn't do flips. I just did wrestling stuff.
And we'll have more about this story on the drive-thru because the quarter hours are not in as we are finishing the recording now, but the overall number is being reported by Dave Meltzer.
Oh, well, and let's take this with a grain of Assault mine.
I have to think he has a source here that must have given him this, and it was probably named Tony Khan. AEW from Mexico City, 736,000 viewers.
Oh, I'm having a hard time believing that, aren't you?
Doesn't include Max. Biggest 25 to 54 number since April 2024.
Brian, why would over 100,000 more people watch this show than did last week's or the week before with what they had advertised here?
I don't know. I'm dying to see the quarter hours. That's why we can't do a real segment on this until we see the proof in the pudding.
Has some ongoing tournament that's been going on for the past 4 or 5 months suddenly come to an end?
Well, the NBA's winding down. Yeah, I mean, that's what you could say, yeah.
I gotta hear more details on this.
Well, we will have more details on the drive-thru in a few days, but that was AEW Dynamite Grand Slam from Mexico City at Arena Mexico.